told him she wants to draw more than anything, but she's afraid to say it because he wants her to be a doctor. And so these are conversations, very important conversations that have to happen or that have been waiting to happen. However, they are not just because the children have been waiting for someone to listen. So if you have not tried this yet, please do it this week, okay? The child definitely has something to tell you. So today's topic is going to be personal. It's going to be very personal. So for all of us, my question is, what is one thing that your parents did that you swore you would never do with your own kids? Type it in the chat for me. Type in the chat. One thing, be specific. Don't think too hard. What's the first thing that comes to mind? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Let me say something right up front. This is not a bashing session. I'm not here to drag our parents through the mud. If you are here expecting me to spend 30 minutes talking about how terrible our parents were, well, you're in the wrong place. Because the truth is, it's more complicated than that, and it's even more beautiful. So let me start with what they actually got right, because they got a lot right. All right, as a child, you keep thinking, oh, maybe my parents these they were wicked and all, but when you start realizing that, oh, these guys actually they had the right idea. Maybe the execution was not perfect, but they had the right idea. And so let me start with what they got right. Number one is that they prioritize education. Everything. They prioritize it. So they sacrifice everything. They sacrifice meals so we could have school fees. They work jobs they hated so we could go to better school. They moved cities, moved countries, sold land, borrowed money, all for education. And that drive is the reason why most of us are where we are today. That matters. Number two is that they taught community, respect for elders, the understanding that you're not just an individual, that you're part of something bigger, that you present your family. They always tell you when you go to school, remember the child of who you are. In a world that is becoming more and more and more isolated, that sense of belonging and responsibility is actually a superpower. But our parents gave us that. And then number three is that they showed us that sacrifice is love. Our parents didn't say "I love you" every day. A lot of us didn't we grew up not hearing that from our parents, but they showed it in every food, in every school fees paid, in every early morning and late night. They loved us in action. Find the words, and that kind of it built something solid in us, right? And but there are a couple of things that they also got wrong, and not because they were bad people, like I said. They had the right idea but the wrong execution, and they had a lot of limited tools and unlimited challenges. So one of the first things that they got wrong is the emotional expression. The biggest proponent of "you're a boy, don't you know you should not cry?" Boys don't cry, girls don't get angry. Showing feelings was soft, it was inadequate, it was not supposed to be so, right? And that created an entire generation of adults who cannot name their own emotions, who suppress everything, who bottle up pain because you feel like nobody wants to hear you or nobody cares about you, right? And it follows us, it has followed us into our marriages, into parenting, into your health. Because if you can't name what you're feeling, you cannot process it. And if you cannot process it, you pass it on to your children. That's the cycle. And so what they got wrong, number two, was that obedience was valued over understanding. Obedience was valued over understanding. Don't ask why was the motto. And on one hand, it kept order, kept things running. But on the other hand, it produced adults who struggle with critical thinking, who wait to be told what to do, who are afraid to question authority, even when authority. Don't ask why was very efficient for our parents, but it was expensive for us. And so what they got wrong, number three, was that comparison was the default motivator. They were the champions of look at your neighbor, look at your son, the person that carried first. Does he have two heads? And I mean, like I said, was supposed to motivate, but what it actually did was destroy confidence. So it told us that we were never enough, made us unnecessarily competitive, and that love is conditional on performance, that our worth is measured against someone else's achievement. And I can't tell you how many adults I've worked with who still hear their mom's voice comparing them. They still carry that trauma. That wound doesn't heal. So if you look inward, you realize that many of you are also carrying one of these patterns into your own parenting, because that's what you know. When things get stressful, when you are tired, when you're overwhelmed, you hear your parents' voice coming out of your own mouth, and you realize, you say, I swore I would never do this. I swore this would never be me, but there it is. All right. You have to understand that you are who you are, how you parent. Right? You are basically an old, right now, you're running old software because that was how you were raised. So you're automatically doing that, which is why it is so important for you to always learn. It is so important for you as a parent. You have to unpack. What I want you to see is that we are the bridge generation. We grew up with one set of tools, and now we have the awareness, the education, the access to information to build a better one. We can keep what worked, the drive, the sacrifice, the community, the respect, and then fix what didn't. The emotional suppression, the comparison, the fear-based parenting, right? You take what is good, use that as our foundation, and we build the next floor. And then our children will build the floor after that. And that is how progress works generation by generation. Okay? And so, like, you have to think about what is it that you are doing right now that is not in line with the new way of raising. The new way of raising children is very important. It's very important because when you know, you have to know what the problem is before you even try to start fixing that. It's very, very, very important. And so your practical takeaway is that tonight or whenever you have a quiet moment, I want you to write down 3 things that your parents did that you want to keep. Introspect and say, what are the good things that they did? Put them down. Things that made you who you are, values that you hold dear, that are serving you well. Then also write down one thing that you want to change. Maybe one thing that didn't serve you, one thing that they did to you didn't like that you don't want to pass. Write it. 3 to keep, 1 to change. That's your parenting compass. Right? The truth is that you will never be a perfect parent. But there's a difference between a parent that just does what they feel like at every time and the one that is intentional about their action. Okay? And so, like, write this down. Make sure you look over it. Look over that. Write it, put it where you will see it all the time because you want to always remember. You want to always remember that this is a commitment you made. And there are going to be some times when you fail, when you maybe step out of character. You have to understand and forgive yourself and keep going. The only time you lose is when you stop. The only time you lose is when you say, oh, I failed. Let me stop. No, you only stop. You only fail when you stop. Okay? So I hope that this helps you. I hope that this helps you. And this series, we're talking about a lot of things that are important for your parenting that will help you become a better parent, because I realize that in order for us to raise the kind of children that we want, we have to be better parents. We have to be better people. And so the next series is definitely going to be around this. And I hope that this has been enlightening. Let me know if you've loved this. And if this is your first time of joining us, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you tomorrow by 8 p.m. Have a great evening.